most of us tend to feel that it's a cleaner solution to the problem. You have 3 blocked arteries, let's get beyond them, we'll plug little vessels in beyond, and the patient will do better. Even in the absence of documented data to support that, we tend to do it. Anyway, I went home, and my wife, who's a psychiatrist, had a long session with me that night, and we discussed this at great length, and I decided that, in fact, this was going to be a great patient to start a new way of practicing cardiology for me, a new way of practicing cardiology, if he desired to. So I went back, and instead of a 3-minute conversation, I actually had a 45-minute conversation with both him and his wife. In cardiology terms, that's like an eternity. But we had this conversation, and I gave them their options. Either he could have a bypass, or he could go on a graded exercise program, stress reduction, nutritional counseling, a variety of supplements, including some herbs and some vitamins, and he would pick which one he would have. Well, it was no shock that he opted for the vitamins as opposed to the opening of his chest. But there was a proviso, and the proviso was that if he had recurrent symptoms, if this did not work, he would contact me immediately, and he would go for the bypass. So he agreed, and he started on this path. Being the first patient that I was doing this with, I sort of like threw the kitchen sink at him. I put him on so many different supplements. You know, I was not going to miss with this gentleman. So I put him on all these different things. I put him on garlic, high doses of CoQ10, L-carnitine, very powerful antioxidants. I put him on gugulipid to lower his cholesterol, and a lot of fiber, all these different things. Actually, I also put him on some herbs to lower his blood pressure, something called coleus. So I put him on these different things, and I saw him in the office about 2 weeks later. And his blood pressure, which he told me, now don't forget this was only the 3rd time that I was seeing him, he told me his systolic blood pressure always ran between 160 and 180, even on medications. His blood pressure was down now to about 116/68. It was really an incredible situation. I mean, this was a trial for me and a trial for him. And in fact, it was working. He had no further angina. I saw him again several weeks later and did a cholesterol profile, and his cholesterol, he had been on Zocor, and he stayed on Zocor. His cholesterol had fallen, and I'll never forget these numbers, from 188 as his total cholesterol down to 108 on this new regimen. And although this is a wonderful thing, you have to understand that this being new to me, I got frightened, actually. I thought, oh my God, what have I done to this guy? 108, what does this mean? So I stopped his Zocor, and his cholesterol kind of leveled off in the 150 range, right? Off the Zocor. I pulled back on his blood pressure medications as well. And he has continued to do well. He has had no recurrence of angina. His stress test, in fact, is normalized, and I've repeated it several times since that year. Stress test is normalized. Blood pressure is well controlled. Cholesterol is well controlled. There are times, I will tell you, that where he doesn't adhere to as stringent a regimen as he should, and his cholesterol will start going up, or his blood pressure will go up, and I'll call him up. I'll say, "What are you doing? You're my prized patient. Don't do this." And so basically, he'll bring his numbers down, and he knows what to do to control this. Now, again, the reason I'm bringing him up as an example is that it took a lot of different things for him to avoid a bypass. It wasn't just exercising, or it wasn't just doing a stress reduction technique. It wasn't just taking vitamins or supplements. It was a combination of all these things that worked to make him do as well as he did. So with that in mind, for those of you who can't read this, I'll read it aloud. Think positively, stop worrying, be myself, take a risk, be open with people, don't slouch, figure out what I really want to do with my life, be more aggressive, start exercising. Now I know there's something else I'm supposed to do today. So there are a lot of things we have to do, and sometimes it can be a daunting task. Once you've done all these things, then you're left with this. Getting there is only half the battle, and staying there is a lifelong commitment. So this is not an easy process, right? Don't walk out of the room. This is not an easy process, but it's doable, okay? It's doable. So I want to take you through the various modalities that I think are very important, and they really include exercise, nutrition, proper nutrition, and stress management. All right? So exercise, to sweat or not to sweat, it is no longer an option. And there have been government studies that have come out recently really promoting exercise to an even greater degree than our government had previously said. In fact, one report said our government now recommends people exercise 5 days a week. All right, 5 days a week. And our government is conservative. All right? Now, this says the handle on your recliner. Okay, it's legible. We all can relate to this picture, obviously. All right. So what is exercise if it's not using a recliner? Well, there are 3 components of exercise.